Good morning, Stanley.
Good morning.
Morning, Stan.
Right, everything did an update, and then everything needed a passcode. Like Google, Microsoft, Zoom, everything needed to get going.
Don't you just love technology?
And then it's like, oh, you've changed your passcode like 3 months ago, and you're like, which passcode is it?
That's right, keep mine.
I have got a book, but the problem was, like you're like searching through the book, going, okay, I need this passcode. Oh,
which one is it?
I can't get it into my tablet because I need this passcode. Now I need to update.
Yeah, so I saw the tempting little button to update Zoom. It wasn't forcing me to do it, so I haven't done it yet. That was about a minute before this call started. I thought, I'm not going to go down that road.
Well, I had a similar panic moment that my laptop was the memory was nearly full because I've got it split between Apple and Microsoft, and I'm using Apple, which has been perfect connection. But the memory part of the Apple, because it's only like half the amount of space on the computer, was just about chock-a-block, and I'm like, oh no, it's not going to be able to record the Zoom thing. So I was basically trying to upload some Zoom sessions into Dropbox so that I could delete them off the laptop.
I see.
It's just finished, so I've just deleted it out, so we should be all good now. But it was a, oh no, what if it'll run out of recording space halfway through the meeting? So you get that. These are the big issues. The big
first world problems, as they say.
Yeah. So starting off with on a bit of a positive note, have you had any wins this week? Anyone want to share any wins? Or in the last few weeks since we've seen you, Glenn?
Yeah, we're about to sign the lease for the new premises. We signed that on the 1st, which is Tuesday, and then we get the keys, so we can start moving stuff. Other wins, I suppose, are surviving the amount of work that we've had going on. It's been crazy. So, and we don't know where it's coming from. Well, we don't. You know, there's just this sudden influx. So, I think the work that we've been doing in the background over the last 6 months, or whatever else, with networking and social media and that sort of stuff, is starting to pay off. So, yeah, it's one of those things you don't see immediate results sometimes.
Definitely.
But, yeah, but Denise is now going, why have I got so many quotes?
You've got to be careful what you wish for sometimes, haven't you? Because you get busy and then suddenly you're struggling to cope with it all.
Yeah. We had one big job on for the show on Out of the Crane, and we just had all the normal work as well. It was mad, absolutely mad. We don't normally work weekends, but we did a couple of weekends just to catch up. So grateful that we're still getting it. It's costing us a little bit of money to move. So yeah, we wouldn't have been able to do it, I suppose, without what's happened in the last 6 or 9 months. So it's been pretty good. Stan, you got kids running around, Stan? Yeah, so it's been pretty busy few weeks, hence I've been absent. So glad to get back on here.
Good stuff. About you, Stan?
I finished my Kickstarter course. There's a few things to go back on and work on. I think they were like rough draft stuff. Finished my super reading course. Now I can start on some of the other stuff that I paid for. That's about it, really, I think.
Your super reading course, do you say?
Yeah, she's going to ask.
With Jim Quick and Mind Valley.
Oh, Jim Quick. He's Jim Quick. He's good. So
lots of really cool exercises to do, and then I could already read pretty fast, but it was looking for the next level. I kind of got the all access pass for Mind Valley, and that was one of the courses I was looking at doing. That and the super memory course, and there's a rapid transformational therapy hypno stuff with Marissa Peer. And it was easier just to buy the whole, get access to everything. It's like, yeah.
So what's the the aim of the super reading course is it's faster reading and better comprehension. And
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of it to start with was just a bunch of exercises. So one of the things he does is you use your finger to help you read faster. And then things like people verbalize stuff, so you can only read as fast as you can talk. Where had a bunch of exercises like, you know, like just saying, and when you first start, you're not reading for comprehension, you're reading for speed, and then the comprehension kind of comes. But, you know, like if you've got 20 minutes to read a book and you can read 20 pages, well, I can read like 100 pages, so I could read that 20 pages 2 or 3 times, which makes it kind of easier. And then there was a couple of really crazy like speed drills. We read for 4 minutes, then you mark that page and you start read again, and then you got to read that stuff that you read in 3 minutes, and then like you got to make it to the finish line, and then you just start again and you read that thing for 2 minutes, and you got to make it to the finish line, then you got to read it for like 1 minute. But it's amazing how fast you start like doing blocks of information, and because your brain's already read the information, it was saying like, you know, you've done this, and then all of a sudden it's like scan. I know this bit, and then like your brain, I mean, your brain kind of slows down and goes up and down as it goes. So sometimes you get, and then you're like, 10 seconds read, get to the finish line.
How fast can you turn a page? Yeah, that's right. Oh wow! Well, actually, something else that I did, I think Tony knows about it. I did a voiceover course, and I actually had to teach myself to slow down reading because my eyes were going too quick when I'm trying to read a script when you're only reading it for the first time. And then to teach yourself to breathe through that and slow it all the way down. My eyes were going way ahead of where my mouth was, and if my mouth tried to keep up to it, then you couldn't understand what I was saying when you played it back again.
Yeah, that'd be the opposite. That'd be the opposite to this course.
Yeah,
but I guess you could read the, you know, like you could read fast the script so you had it in your brain. Because he starts with non-fiction book. So he starts with fiction books just for fun, and then, you know, like a lot of it was like if you're reading technical books and stuff like that, like skim through the book. You know, and then like it was all about, some of it was taking notes, so it was all like skim through the thing, have a look at the pictures, have a look at the chapter titles, have a look at some of the stuff, write it down so your brain has started to go, and then you go back and read it, and then, you know, he's like, that sounds like a long process until you realize that if you know, like you're reading a chapter, I said what most people do would read 4 or 5 pages, you've read 25 pages several times, so you've got a much better understanding in the same space of time. You've read it several times and kind of taken much more information in, so you're like, oh, I understand that far better.
You know, even that one tip of using your finger to read, they teach that at school, and then we all stopped doing it. But I've gone back to that because I went on a speed reading course as well. And it takes the pressure off your eye trying to look and find where you're up to on the text. So it just directs your eyesight to that even that one tip alone massively increases the speed of your reading.
Yeah, I used to do it with a ruler, shift it down line by line.
Yeah.
But that's still you're reading a line at a time rather than a word at a time.
Your finger's better, and then you start doing like drills where you use your professional vision, so fingers not going to the edge of the page. And I actually read forwards and backwards because I did another course, and I read because your brain just knows which way it's going.
You speak Arabic as well?
No. So I learned that off another program by Ed Stryker. I got a Reading Genius program, which was similar concept to what Jim Cook was talking about. I actually found a book. I found several books on it in my library. Like, look. So I kind of got the Reading Genius program, did some of the work, kind of forgot about it, went to go back to it, and the computer program that they use to read with is like, that doesn't fit on any computer. But you can get actual speed reading stuff for your tablets that actually helps you read. It's a little bit the same, like sticks all the words in and it flashes up and you can just like, and then I like installed it on my computer and it was like going really well until I did something and now it doesn't work. And you're like,
An interesting thing about the brain's ability to comprehend stuff too. You've seen those things on Facebook where somebody will post a word and all the letters are jumbled up and you read it, but you can still make sense of it because your brain unscrambles it and goes, oh, that must mean this, you know, and so it interprets it even though the letters are all jumbled.
As long as the first and the last letter are correct, your brain will actually look for the patterns.
Yeah,
That's right. Yep.
and then you get to, like you said, Stan, where you can take in a whole sentence at a time rather than just reading the individual words.
I did a test with my friend and he said no way that this worked, and he picked a random book and we did 5 minutes worth of reading, and I was miles in front of him, and he says, but how much do you understand? And I said, okay, I was reading for comprehension and not speed, and like I was 30 odd pages in front of where he was with like 80% kind of comprehension of what it was. And like I said, I could have read the 5 pages that he read in the same time several times and got way better comprehension. Because we did the test several times, because he said, okay, I'll read this bit and the time that he took him, I could do it in 3 times. I could read the bit that he did in 3 times. So then I had way higher retention on stuff.
And the more you do it, the better you get at it too, like anything. So, okay, well, that's led in nicely into the topic that I was going to talk about this morning. So I'll announce the topic and then we'll do the Noble Goldman principles. So that gives you a little bit of extra thinking time. I thought we'd talk about this morning the law of attraction and self-talk, because it led in very nicely there, Stan, where you were saying that you went to the library and suddenly you found all these books on the topic that were important to you. So it's one of those sort of situations. It flows on nicely. So all right, well, we'll go to, I'll just share the screen and we'll go to the Noble Goldman principles. So if anyone's watching for the first time, they can see what we're all about. Oh, that's all gone pear-shaped. What's going on there? Now, can we all see the principles?
Yep.
Just for a change, I'll go number 1, and Glenn can go number 2, and Stan can go number 3, because that way I get to read some different sentences. So, the purpose of the mastermind is to learn leadership, build teams, and create multiple sources of income together.
We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are a real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces. 1 mind, 1 soul, 1 love. And why not, for the heck of it, let's do the mission statement as well.
Noble Goldman International is a conscious, aware and engaged global community of abundance and freedom creators.
Our mission is to create 1 million millionaires who are free from time for money paradigm. We focus on creating multiple streams of income through masterminding, team building, and effective utilization of the internet-based platforms.
The mastermind becomes an opportunity for self-mastery where the self-transcendent shift from the me to the we to the us occurs. As congruence and engagement increases, the world's consciousness is then raised one meaningful and inspired relationship at a time. Excellent. Thank you guys for that.
Am I the only one, when it gets to the bottom of the page, I grab my mouse and want to change over?
Yes. No, I do that too. And Martin stumped me the other day because I glanced away from the screen.
Yeah.
And it was my turn to talk. And I looked back and what had just been said wasn't there. Because he changed the screen to the next one. Where am I up to? I couldn't find where I was up to.
Get on the top. Get on the top.
So that was
pay attention.
Embarrassing. All I did was glance away for a second to like straighten my notebook on my knee because I was making notes. You know, I was like, hang on, where are we?
Oh, it's funny.
So, did you notice that Stan read that much faster than the rest of us then?
He'd read each page 3 times before he got to his.
Yeah, I think he was reading backwards actually at one point though. So,
oh dear.
Yes. So, well, that's fun. We like to have fun on our meetings.
Exactly.
Yep.
So the law of attraction and self-talk, I thought it's always a fascinating topic for me, and I can go back and talk about this over and over because it just when you forget about it, you kind of, you know it and you sort of shelve it, and so therefore you forget to put it to your own advantage very often. But there's a few instances throughout the day where it does come up where I think one is always the classic of I'm looking for a parking space, and I'll always go, right, we call it the parking ferry. Come on, parking ferry, find us that space, you know. And there's always then when you focus on that, you know, you pull up at the supermarket, there's always the space right there. Or just as you get there, somebody else is pulling out and in you go into that spot, you know. And if you forget to do that, you can be driving around that car park for ages.
So come back at the weekend. Come back on the Friday afternoon.
One example, yeah. You know, we can go. I could count so many examples throughout my lifetime where we think about something, we make it a definite purpose that we really want to achieve a goal. In fact, here's a great example. See the T-shirt I'm wearing? Mm-hmm. I survived the Inca Trail. So that was one doing the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu back in 2014. So I used all the tools in the tool chest for that one. I had repeatedly visualized going to Machu Picchu, and I found the classic photograph that everyone gets, you know, where you're there with the mountain behind you, and it's all green behind you, and you've got all the greenery of the forest there behind. And I imagined myself in that photograph, and I cut out a copy of that photograph and I put it on my vision board, which I have up and to the right of my computer. So this was in my old office back in the apartment where I used to live there. And part of why we do that, just to explain for people who've never come across this stuff before, in neurolinguistic programming, NLP, one of the things that they teach us was, or taught me in my courses, was that where your eyes go, it actually allows the light to refract through your eyes and to light up certain parts of your brain, different parts depending on where you look. And that's why most people tend to have something either like the present and the past and the future are sort of wired in different places. So when you're remembering something in your past, for most people, not everyone's the same, because like you have left-handed and right-handed people, you have people whose eyes are wired to the left and people's eyes are wired to the right. The majority of the public, as it's right-handed, the majority of the public tend to think, when they're thinking about things that have happened in the past, their eyes tend to go to the left, and they're looking back, remembering things, and their brain is actually processing, going, when did that happen? When can I think when this is that? And when they're thinking creatively and looking to, you know, if you ask them a question where they're having to imagine something or think about something that might happen in the future, their eyes tend to go up and to the right. So that's why I had the picture of Machu Picchu up and to the right, because it was going to happen in the future as creative. Now, what happens when you put it on a vision board and you have it in a prominent place like that is that your peripheral vision picks it up. So even when you're not consciously sitting there going, oh, I must remember to look at that to remind myself to focus on that goal, every time you're in that room and your eyes are taking in all this other information that's around you, you know, like right out of the corner of my eye, I can see out through the sliding door there and into the garden. I'm not consciously thinking about what's going on in the garden, but I'm aware of it. And if somebody walked up to that door, I'd catch that in the corner of my eye. So in the same way, when you're looking up and to the right and you've got your vision board there and you've got pictures of the things you want to achieve, your brain is taking that in all the time. So it's like a constant reminder to your subconscious, that's something I want to achieve. Don't forget about that. So I'd set this goal, and it doesn't always work 100% the way you think it's going to. So I'd actually planned that we were going to go on that holiday to South America in 2013. And for various circumstances, it didn't happen. But it did happen the year later in 2014. So the timing was a little bit out, but nevertheless, it still happened. And I still found myself standing in that exact spot where we got the photograph with Machu Picchu up behind us, you know, as if we had been in that photograph that was up on my wall. So it's a very, very powerful thing. So from the everyday of something as simple as looking for a parking space to the big picture goals that you really want to bring into reality in your life, it works. And it works because we put our focus on it, and because also our self-talk is, I'm going to make this happen. That is a goal I'm going to make happen. I don't know exactly how or exactly, you know, maybe when or where, depending on what the goal is. Sometimes it has to be that exact thing. But, you know, it might be a business goal or something where it's more vague or more fluid. But so sometimes it doesn't happen exactly the way you thought it was going to, but it still happens because you're telling yourself, I can make this happen and I'm going to make this happen. Now, on the converse to that is we can also self-sabotage, and we can tell ourselves, oh, that doesn't work, or it's not going to happen. Or, and have you ever opened a sentence with, oh, knowing my luck? That's a great English expression you hear a lot. Oh, knowing my luck, you know, I'll probably lose this game, or, you know, and then what happens? You get the bad luck that you just brought on yourself. So I was just thinking about this morning for whatever reason. I don't know exactly why it popped into my brain. I had to think of something to talk about. So the law of attraction brought me the topic of the law of attraction. So does anyone want to share an example of where that self-talk has been really vivid and it's worked for you? Or equally, where it hasn't?
Just in general, I suppose my situation over the last 4 or 5 years, you know, I do as much as I can to keep that positive attitude rather than worrying about the house, the car, the work, the money. If you sit there watching the bank account day in, day out, it's only going to go one way, probably back to zero. Since I've changed my attitude, obviously when I was doing a lot of driving and you're in the car by yourself quite a lot, the head starts to go, oh, I've got to make more money, and you try and do more and more and more to make more money. And all you end up doing is spending more money to try and make more money, and you end up running at a loss. So things that I do now, I've said this probably on this forum and a couple of others recently, that, you know, my wife and business partner, you know, she runs the main business that we have. So she sees what's coming and going all the time. I don't sit there and look. I have a general idea of how the business is going, obviously, because of what we're doing. But, you know, the bank account for me and the way that it looks, I just scan through it. When I look at my business account, our general account, yeah, that looks pretty healthy, and I know where we're at, sort of thing. But I know there's money there and it's great, and I'll just keep this positive thought in my head that things are going well. So maybe this is, you know, before Stan turned up, you know, about the way the business has been going in the last 3 or 4 months. I think it's a result of that sort of positive attitude to, you know, how we get business in, and how that's now reflecting in our daily life. Is we just go, yeah, okay, we're pretty tired because of the amount of work that we're doing. But, you know, so it's those that positive mindset for me, combating the not so positive mindset of someone that's buried in the business all day, being Denise, you know, and trying to balance that, and me trying to be the ultra positive, and her going, oh, you know, it's this and it's this and this, and things are going wrong, and I, you know, try and calm the farm a little bit. But even the small things that I do when I drive down to the office, I take the nice route. I don't drive down the freeway because it's boring unless I've got to be there in 15, 20 minutes. I'll get down the coast road because it's such a nice thing to see, regardless of how much traffic might be there. It might take me 10, 15 minutes longer. I just dawdle down that coast road, down West Coast Highway, and it just gets me in such a far better mood by the time I walk into the office, and things just like, right, okay, who wants a cup of tea? And I just go like, who wants a cup of tea? And there's always going to be, of course, a stupid question, you know, but, you know, just try to lift it up a little bit and, you know, talk to our other staff member and get things going like that. And when things go wrong, I'll say, well, okay, fine, it's done, it's broken, it's finished, put it in the bin, let's do it again, rather than going the ins and outs of how bad it is and, you know, what happened to it. When that does happen occasionally, it's just try and work on the positive side of it. And, you know, for me, in 5 or 6 years, you know, I was that pretty negative person about the way that things were, the way that the world was, and, you know, I'm not going to get out of it. But if you switch, it's taken a long time for me to train that thought to be becoming a lot more positive. And, you know, there's no, don't have a vision board, but just above the screen here on my left, I hate lists. But when I know I have things to do, I actually have up there, this is a positive stuff list of things that I know are going to get me some results. If I do these things, then it's going to do these, you know, it's going to progress the way that I want to go, rather than having a list of things we need to do on the house, floating around the house. It's all in here. I know what we're doing, but I just hate seeing it there because it's just more stuff I need to do. I just don't want to do that. But, you know, there's things that we do. So, but it's just shifting that mindset. I don't have a vision board, but I have that thing in my head, you know, when you drive down through Burns Beach, Iluka, and down all the way down that coast road, you just see all these nice houses. You've got the nice houses on the left-hand side, and obviously the coast on the right, and a beautiful ocean. And, you know, you look out towards Rottnest Island and you go, what's, you know, rather than driving down the freeway, watching everyone else going, I'm going to work. It's just a completely different mindset.
Absolutely. I don't know how people do that. That would do my head in.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I think when I worked in the city and I got the train for so many years, it wasn't too bad because it was only 15, 20 minutes on the train, and everyone just sat there. Either, you know, back in the 80s and 90s back in England, everyone was sitting there reading the newspaper. And then over the years, it went to everyone flicking through on their phones.
The newspapers were about that big, weren't they?
Oh, you get the old broadsheet. You're trying to read a Daily Telegraph, fold it into little pieces. Or guys doing the crossword and that sort of thing. And I also chat to a couple of the older boys, and they go, "What is it when you get on the train now?" And like all you can hear is the out of the earphones, and no one talks to each other. And you know, it's like getting in a lift and talking to someone. And everyone goes, "What are you doing?" Strange person, you know. Don't talk to me on the train, you know. But yeah, it's quite a strange thing. But I used to then drive down to the office when I worked in Perth in the city, purely for dropping Denise off on the way through, because I just find different ways to get to work rather than just drive down the freeway or just get on the train again and just you know, whatever. I always remember there was a guy who used to sit on London Bridge. So I used to come into London Bridge station and walk across London Bridge to go to the office. We were right on London Bridge. And there was a guy sat there every morning, and he had his little pot asking for a bit of money for a cup of coffee. And one day walking across there in the middle of winter. So, you know, England, everyone's wearing dark raincoats and black umbrellas and black suits and black shoes. And this guy was sitting there going, and I heard him say one day, "Look at all you lot, no wonder you got nothing to live for. You're wearing black, it's all doom and gloom." And he was sitting there in his brightly coloured shirts and bits and pieces and in the rain and just collecting money. Yeah, he's, you know, that was what he either chose to do or whatever. But yeah, it's right. So, you know, you're a person that wears brightly coloured clothes. I try to now get out there a little bit differently to what everyone else does, because just go, why should I just wear the black stuff? Okay, it's different if it's certain occasions you need to, but you just wear something different, not for the sake of being eccentric, but just for the sake of being, I want to wear it. That's because I want what I want to wear, not because society says I need to wear this sort of thing. So it's a whole shift. Yeah.
Excellent. Do you mind if I've got a couple of things to pick up from what you said, David. Would you mind if I use a couple of words of examples that I picked from your conversation?
Go for it. Yeah.
Because I just want to use this purely, and it's not having a go at you in any way, so don't take it personally, because we all do this. I just noticed a couple of words, and I wanted to use this for examples for the topic today, for self-talk. So Stan's going to be ultra defensive when he's talking now. You started off the conversation with saying that you try to keep positive.
I picked that up myself.
You pick it up. I noticed you pick it up, which was really good, because that was great. That was a lovely moment where you were like, oh, I know, I do. That's true, because self-talk, whenever we use the word try, means we're not really completely convinced that we can pull this off, does it? It's,
yeah, that's right.
Well, the shot, you know, but do this. So getting rid of the word try out of your vocabulary is one of those key ones, which was quite funny when I noticed you pick it up. Another one, oh, this is one, so many people say this, and you've got to be so careful of it. You mentioned that your partner is buried in the business. Yeah, do you think about the connotation of using that word?
Yeah, I know.
And
yeah.
people say it about themselves. Oh, you know, I'm snowed under. I'm buried in the business. You know, I buried myself in work.
Yeah.
What is that actually saying? What is the image that comes with those words? Words are really powerful. And when we use words like that, we're actually creating that whole feeling that comes with that on a subconscious level, obviously, of that, you know, I'm dying here. This is literally killing me, this job. You know, and you see people say that too, don't you? You see that, say, oh yeah, it's killing me. Really? It's actually killing you? Why are you doing it?
It is. And that was, you know, that's when some of that chatter goes on within the office about non-positive chat, about, oh, I hear it on the phone, oh, we're under the pump, we're flat out, we're whatever else. I'm going,
yep.
Can we just change it to, we're quite busy at the moment? And there was that conversation the other day with the difference between busy and productive.
Yes.
And we are just, but you know, you don't want to tell a client, sorry, we can't get to your job at the moment because we're ultra productive.
Yeah.
Because they're going to go, you're working with someone else and not me. Yeah.
There are times where you have to be aware of conventions with language, same as with colors, as you mentioned with colors.
Yeah.
That was something that really struck me when I went back to England for the first time from having come out to Australia. So I've been away for 9 years, and I made the decision to jump onto a plane from Darwin. So I'd come all through the Aussie outback, you know, leading up to Darwin, through the Pilbara, beautiful colors, the Kimberley, spectacular region, you know, and just the vast open landscapes of Australia, of Western Australia, and then Northern Territory. It was just incredible. And the sky, it's one of the things that's always appealed to me, and I've always loved about Australia, is you look out there and it's just blue, and that you can't even find a cloud. You know, there's just a beautiful color of blue sky.
Even when it is cloudy, Denise said when she first came back here, after living, you know, we obviously lived in London for such a long time, she said it's just a huge sky.
Yes.
It's just massive.
It is. And so struck me when I went back. I got on the plane, and as I got off the plane, I landed in Heathrow, where just getting off the plane and looking out the window, the cloud base felt like I needed to duck down. It was so light, and it was just grey and cloudy. There was no sign of any blue anywhere.
Yeah.
It was just grey or dark. So straight away, that set the tone. I'm sorry if whoever's watching this lives in England, but I then got on the subway to get into central London, and I had that exact same experience you've just described. Everyone on the train was like something extra out of a zombie movie. Their eyes were just dead. They were glazed over. No one was making any eye contact with anyone else. They all looked like they were being asked to do something absolutely awful, and they were bored out of their skulls. They all wore grey or black or dark colours, and there was just a complete absence of colour anywhere. It was just so noticeable. It really almost knocked me over. There you go. There's a bit of self-talk. I was feeling floored by just the absence of colour, and it set the mood straight away for this sort of impending doom and gloom. And
yeah,
it's incredible. So using colour in what you wear, in even something like having a coloured pen, or using highlighters, or it just immediately sort of lifts the tone somehow, doesn't it?
Quite noticeable when we went back last year, and I caught up with a lot of guys that I used to work with in the city for all those years, and they're all out now and doing other things. Like, for instance, one guy is doing is a movie buff, so he goes around to, well, pre-COVID, he was going around to sort of nursing homes, retirement villages, and that sort of thing, and sort of later sort of care villages, care homes. Yeah. And doing talks on movies, because a lot of the oldies absolutely loved it. And you see him now, and he rocks up, blue jacket, red shirt, orange trousers. I mean, it's just the same guy that I used to work with in the city that would wear a chalk stripe suit and a check shirt and a spotted tie and whatever else, because that's what everyone wore. And 4 or 5 other guys turn up, and they go, "What do you do now?" "I'm working on the farm down in Guildford in Surrey and whatever else." And he's just like he's just come off the tractor, but you can clean stuff, and just go, "This is the guy who wore a dark suit for many years, and this guy's out running amateur theatrical company, and he's like, boom, brightly dressed." And then it's just, people get out and they go, "That was me doing that." And you go, they all did it for a reason, for the money. And then they get out and they go, "Okay, now what am I doing? Who am I?" And they realize then that they were that person purely for, I suppose a few of the guys saw it as a means to an end. They left when they were sort of 50 to 55 years old, and then their life started. Like, they had this vision of, getting out, getting it done quickly, and getting some decent sort of financial backing, and go and do what they wanted to do after that. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, how they changed.
Yeah, there are obviously times where you have to, wear appropriate clothing for a certain occasion, and I have to put on a suit to, a suit and tie, perhaps even for a certain situation. But as much as I can, I definitely like to wear colours, because it immediately puts me in a more vibrant sort of state of mind.
I've been to 2 funerals that I can recall recently where black suit, black tie, I either wore a pink shirt or a different coloured shirt. I was not going to wear a white shirt.
Yeah. And
one of them was actually, I turned up in a pink shirt, and there were several other guys there as well that said, because we know that he wouldn't have wanted everyone to wear just your plain old white shirt and be like, the zombie in the crowd sort of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, it's not showing any disrespect to people who do abide by those conventions. But as an example, when I had to give a eulogy at my mother's funeral, I wore colour that day, because I think with funerals, this is a whole other topic we could go into, but funerals have now become, rather than the dour occasions they used to be of doom and gloom and the loss of this person, instead it's shifted to celebrating the life of this person and celebrating what they brought to everybody in the room, how they impacted on the community, how they influenced people, what their successes were, what their achievements were in life. So it's less about the loss and the grieving and the mourning and the sorrow and the doom and the gloom, and more about, hey, we were so lucky to meet this person, and what a great impact they had on our life, and let's celebrate that. Because what would that person have wanted? They wouldn't want you sitting around moping and feeling miserable, would they, for the rest of the week? Well, maybe some people might, but the majority of people would be like, go on, have a party. My excuse, go, just use me as the excuse for the party. Go, just kick it off, and I'd have a drink with you if I was there, but I can't, obviously. So that's certainly my attitude anyway. So
I think it's definitely a shift these days. It's a celebration of life. And even bringing it forward from that, people are doing it before they actually die.
Yeah, I was going to say, people are
So
having
they get to find out what people think
living,
about them.
living funerals.
It's a bit late to change your ways, though, isn't it? If you know you're about to die. Could have told me this 10 years ago. I would have done something different.
There's a guy around. I heard on the
You
radio.
want to do it now and then figure it out. You got another 50 years to go.
That's what I was supposed to get right. Yeah. There's a guy around in Perth. Apparently, I think he's called the Finisher or something. So he's hired by the person that is about to pass to go to the funeral and come out with something that the fella doesn't want to do. You know, the person's about to pass. So like they're about to come out of the closet. They're about to say, I did this and I'm quite ashamed of it. And he'll go along, or, you know, I wanted to tell my boss what I really, really thought of him back in 1985. And I know the boss is going to be at the funeral. So this guy gets hired to go to the funeral just as a random, and comes out and says, by the way, back in 1985, when such and such was my boss, I thought this about you, and this is what I really, really think right now. And, you know, but the guy's there laying in the coffin. So, yeah.
Speaking of on the grave.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But it does it at the service. Yeah, incredible.
Excellent.
Imagine that. Liven it up a little bit.
Yeah. Stan, what have been your experiences and anything you want to share with us?
I don't know. I've been kind of distracted this morning. The boys are taking extra time. That's not the law of attraction. It just happens every morning. I was going to say something and I can't think of what I was going to say now. So I never have a problem with the parking space because I always park at the back of the thing so that I can walk in and get my fitness exercise. So my ferry already has my space. It's at the back.
Well, that's good thinking.
So I think it was the other day I went back to watch The Secret because I was on some other groups and we had that argument about The Secret not being complete. And then so I went back to watch the movie and went, no, the actual movie is complete for the law of attraction. They didn't say there wasn't anything else to come, like the law of action and that sort of stuff. They just did the law of attraction and was like, well, that's pretty complete here. It was quite interesting to go back, and then everybody's view was tainted. And I was like, I don't think so. So yeah, it was quite interesting to watch that and on, you know, the things like doing your vision boards and, you know, creating it in your mind to start with before you get there. Everything's created twice, sort of stuff. But then you still got to get up and do the work.
Yeah. I've just been reading, I just finished last week, the Joe Dispenza book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And he's talking about that, where when you're creatively visualizing what you want to happen, your brain can't tell the difference. When you're repeatedly imagining a scene and seeing yourself in that scene, seeing yourself achieving something, completing the task, your brain treats that as a memory, even though it hasn't actually happened yet. So because your brain sort of can jump around time zones, it doesn't necessarily, you know, like you can remember something and you get the same emotions and the same feelings. You can wake up from a dream sweating because you've been running in your dream. You know, so your body will physically manifest what your brain is thinking about. That's how powerful it is. So if you can get your body into thinking that this is achievable because you've already seen yourself doing it, then when you go to do it, you already know how to do it. And it's the same principle that the athletes use when they visualize themselves crossing that finish line first and winning. Then they visualize themselves having the gold medal put around their neck while they're standing on the dais with the national anthem playing, you know. the flag coming down and all this. They actually see it so vividly that they then just execute it at the time, you know, with, because they've done it before.
The gold medalists for the 2000 Olympics, the volleyball guys had done everything, got things like gold toothbrushes, and they painted on their mirror the gold medal, so when you stood in front of the mirror, you wore a gold medal and stuff.
Yeah, sports psychology's really taken this on board in a big way, hasn't it? You know, with football players, and they've got to take a penalty kick, you know, what goes through your mind. And so it's a great example where you can't get, if you've ever taken penalty kicks, you can get that self-talk sabotage where it's like, oh, you better not miss this. Oh, if you miss this, you're in big trouble. So we're thinking about missing it. You go up to take the kick, boom, it goes wide at the post or something, you know. The one thing I mustn't do is slip, yeah. You know? I always remember John Terry slipping in that Champions League final with Chelsea against Man United. It was great. Yeah, so when the thing we fear the most, because we're putting our focus and our thought onto it, is the very thing we attract. So, you know, I better not stuff this up. And so using the language as well, oh, I better not stuff this up. What are you telling yourself? Stuff this up. You know, when people are leaving, they've been at your house visiting, I would say, drive home safely. You don't go, try not to have a crash. Unless you really don't like the person. Then you might, that would be really mean, wouldn't it?
That would be really mean.
Do try not to skid off the road.
Yeah. But I even think about when I played sport, I played cricket in the UK, and we get down to situations where we needed, you know, what they call the scoreboard pressure. And you just go, well, look, it's just, I can see now myself, and I did this quite a few times, you know, you get into a tight spot where you needed a ridiculous amount of run rate, and you're thinking, well, it's not, the guys at the other end say, oh, you know, what's it going to look like if we lose this one? I go, well, it's not going to happen, guys. We're just going to, you know, it's going to happen. I can see myself walking off to the pavilion with everyone, you know, because the family there, the kids are there, whatever else. You think it's going to be a good time. And, you know, we you know, did all right on a few occasions when in those sort of situations. But, you know, and they talk about it now when you watch games, you know, the scoreboard pressure of, you know, don't look at it. And you watched a bit of the Women's Big Bash recently, and they talked to international players on there, like Meg Lanning and Lisa Healy and that. And they just go, there's no option. We just know what it's like to win now. And we just had that positive, that mindset all the time. And this is the way we're going to play our game. And we're not going to waver from that, even when things go a little bit, you know, we lose a wicket when we shouldn't have done. And they just plough through it. There was a game last week where they were chasing down quite a large score. And they did it without losing the wicket because they just had that mindset. And this is the way we're going to play the game. And they interviewed him before and after. And you could see that there wasn't too much difference in the interviews. You know, you're up against a run rate here that's going to be pretty tough. We know how to get the job done. And when they came off, we knew we were going to get the job done. Yes, we didn't lose any wickets, which makes it look even better. It makes our run rate and points look higher. So they got through to, well, they're into the final now, because they just had that mindset of there's no negative talk amongst the team at all. Everyone is out in the dugout, sitting out watching the game. And the camera just shoots around and they're all having a great old time. It's a tough game, but they're all having a laugh. Yeah. And it used to be, when the Big Bash first started, or that T20 started, it was a bit of fun. But, you know, the amount of money that's involved now and the claim and that comes, the fame and that comes with it is huge. But they still have a good old time. And you look at a lot of the teams over the years in many sports that have succeeded, the attitude, you know, from, you know, the very, very successful Man United side forgot his name, I'm really sorry, but
how can you forget God's name like that?
I'm really sorry. It's not my sorry, yeah, Fergie time, I should have remembered. His attitude was, you know, I'm sure he used to probably peel the paint off the walls in the dressing room with what he said sometimes. Yeah. But you wouldn't see that out on the ground. He'd get a bit upset with the refs, but he was always pretty positive towards the rest of his players, or what I saw anyway. So, And that was early days of, you know, sports psychology as a thing back then, way back when. But yeah.
Actually, there was one of the talks I heard. Well, I heard something. Where did I read it? I must have read it in a book. Maybe I heard an interview, one of the players talking about it. Champions League, about to walk out to the final, and they have, as you come out of the players' tunnel, and you've got the you go onto the pitch. There's a little stand there with a ball on it, and they collect the ball as they walk past to go on to, you know, to play the game.
Yeah.
And they actually, on the Champions League final, they don't just have the ball, they also have the trophy itself on display. And so he said, you use both. He said you don't want to see yourself, you don't want to be walking past that trophy watching the other team pick it up. You want to see yourselves coming back and picking up that trophy. And, you know, it's putting the positive. It's like you've got the negative vision, swish that out of the way, which is an NLP technique, like swishing it, imagining it in black and white. Even sometimes it makes it more like it's a past event kind of thing. And then bright, vivid color, you achieving the actual thing that you want to achieve. What was that, Stan?
What was that, Stan?
I've been reviewing my NLP stuff, and we did. So this will go for you, Tony. You know, you normally do swish and you like pull the picture back. Well, one of our instructors actually taught us to do that, to swish. So present state, desired state, swish, present state. I was like, oh, I like that. It's got the whole movement thing going on. You have to get the right hand button.
Yes. Well, that's an interesting point, because is it the right hand for you or the right hand for them?
You're muted. Can't hear you, Stan.
You want to go that way, coming from their lower right corner into their vision.
So to me, it looks like left sitting here. You must be mirrored.
Yeah. Well, this is my left hand, but for you, it's coming at you from your right side. Bye.
Okay.
That was weird.
That was it. I'm just trying to that's done my head for today.
But I get what you're saying, because you are putting, and again, that's where you've got to check first that you've made sure that you've got an understanding of which way their eyes move, because if they're, you know, like I said, between left
in
and
reverse, all right, I'll have to go the other way.
might do the opposite, and you give them the wrong.
So here's a question for you then, based on that. I was born left-handed, but I'm now right-handed, because I was born in '66 and my parents went, we don't want a left-handed child, so they moved everything to my right-hand side. So my knives and forks, and my books and my pens and everything went to the right-hand side.
Yeah, well, we would test that out on you, not by what your hands do, but by where your eyes go. So we would have a conversation, looking longingly into your eyes, Glenn.
With my eyes.
And we would see where your pupils go. So your pupils give it away. So obviously when people are aware that you're doing that, they can be a little bit defensive and maybe not play the game so well.
Yeah.
But I would ask you a series of questions. I'd ask you some things where I was asking you to remember things that happened in your past. And then I would be watching for your body language. I'd be watching closely to see which way your pupils went. Now, if you can become really aware, you can start fixating your pupils directly, you know, and refusing to play. You're not going to tell what I'm doing, you know?
Which is what I'm doing now.
But if you ask somebody a question and you see their eyes go, or you can see even their head turning, you see them look, oh yeah, when was that again? You know, so they're looking that way because that's where they're storing their memories in that part of their brain. Oh no, what's happening tomorrow? Or next week I'm going to be doing this, you know. So then and when you become aware of that, you start observing it quite a bit more.
I was talking to Nigel and his wife Mika about this when we caught up once, and he said it's a technique that the police use or any investigator use as well. So are you talking factually or are you making this up? Depending on which way their eyes go, top left, top right, whatever else. And even then, I'm trying hard to look in his eyes while I'm talking to him because I think he's going to read something from here. And I do believe when I'm thinking back, although I see my timeline, my lifeline going from left to right as I would read, when I think back about things, my eyes go top right. Which means...
Because you were left-handed originally.
Yeah, maybe. And then Mika said, do you not see your timeline going through you?
Well, timeline's different from eyes, but...
Then left to right and that sort of... Yeah, so it was all like that conversation anyway, but yeah. And I was doing it the other day, I was talking to someone, and now see I'm looking straight up in front of me, thinking about what I was thinking about. And I found myself going top right or to the right, thinking back. It's weird. Maybe it's just, I don't know, get distracted what I'm looking at the same time. I'm not too sure, but yeah, interesting though.
No, that'll be where your stuff is.
Yeah.
Another thing that I just going back through the notes there, you talked about was talking to people in lifts and so on, and you know, law of attraction. I find when you put your focus on, I have a belief that everywhere I go, I meet interesting people, and I meet nice people, and that's what I tend to attract. So, you know, I make a point of making it part of my daily existence.
There, I don't know what you did when you watch it.
I'm as nice to people as I can be, you know, and have conversations with people where I can, even just to say something nice to somebody at a checkout or in an elevator, or and you got to be careful you're not being creepy about it, obviously.
Dead right.
I've become aware of that, being as I'm now, let's say, a more mature gentleman, that you have to be careful when you compliment a younger female, that doesn't come across like I'm trying to chat you up. And I'll actually even say that. I'm going, hey, this isn't a chat up line, but I just wanted to let you know that you look really nice today, or something like that, because then it's sort of the elephant in the room, isn't it? You're talking about, I'm not actually trying to chat you up.
Not actually trying to chat you up. Yeah. Saw the other day online, and some guy, I think, said, without sounding creepy, straight away just went, but you are.
What does that sound? Yes, the drool coming out of his mouth.
But it is, you know, and you're right. You know, and now when I do deliveries for Denise, or do pickups and that sort of stuff, you know, there is a few people that you come across in your day-to-day life that are just like, you know, they really need some sort of positive lift me up sort of thing. There was a particular supplier that we have, and everyone knows who she is, sits behind the desk, and she's not there anymore. But they've replaced her with someone a little bit more positive. But anyway, so yeah, we need to come across her, say, oh, you know, how are you today? How's things going? And, you know, and by the end, if she had to go and get something from the storeroom, and you'd have a conversation with her, and you think, okay, you looked a bit sort of downtrodden, buried when I walked in there, and now you're going to go, oh, I'll just go back and get through my work, sort of thing. You know, it's, you know, just try without, as you say, without sounding a bit creepy, or just whoever you talk to, just try and, you know, put something else into their day.
Leave them a little better than you found them, eh?
Yeah. But, you know, the checkout girls at our local IGA now, I'm in there God knows how many days a week. And, you know, they all get to know you, from young ones to old ones, and the manager and that. And just, you know, I'm I'm becoming my father. He'll talk to anybody.
Yeah,
and you know,
the same. That's what
it's just like, you know, he's not allowed out at the moment. He's not allowed out at the moment on his own because he's a bit frail, and so Mum gets 2 hours of respite, and they said, "Oh, where would you like to go?" He went, "Bunnings. I need to go back to Bunnings. I haven't been to Bunnings in months," because he misses the staff. So
we used to joke with my mother that she didn't just talk to people; she'd tell them her life story. She couldn't just ask the shop assistant for something; she'd explain why she needed it, and you know that she was having a party that night, and her friend was coming over from wherever. You know, and you see this shop assistant kind of losing the will to live in front of her. You know, kind of go, hello,
please let me get back to my pricing gun. I know that was boring before, but I want to do it again. Yeah, no, but just just in general, just try to uplift people, get into lifts and sort of, you know, hi, how you going? And sometimes people are shocked that you speak to them.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a cultural thing too. I noticed. Interesting that you've mentioned that, because in London, people are terrified of each other. They won't if you talk to somebody in London, you can almost see it going through their mind of, Is he going to mug me? Is he why is he talking to me? But in Manchester, I was having random conversations with people at tram stops and things, you know, because I don't know if it might just be my observation, but I found in the north, people were a lot warmer and more friendly. And I actually had a theory that it might be because it's colder and like it's us against the weather. You know, it's that kind of we needed each other for survival. You know, like thinking historically, culturally, where's this come from? That they seemed a lot warmer and more friendly and open to having conversations and helping each other. Whereas in London, if like someone's lying on the ground, you just walk past them in London. I've seen it happen, you know. But I'm one of those people that go over and say, "Yeah, okay, can I help you or do something?" But you literally would see someone lying on the floor and just people walking past that person.
Yeah, that's right.
Just
to a certain, I don't think, you know, Manchester's not a small town, but it is, you know, it's probably about this, I don't know what population of Greater Manchester is really. I find people in Australia, so Perth to a certain point as well, you know, in the city, in the CBD, there's just all these people walking backwards and forwards to offices, and I just have a quite chuckle to myself now when I drive through town and go, never mind, back to the office you go, guys. And then you go up north, or you go somewhere else, and anybody, race, colour, whatever else, will talk to you. How's your day been? How you been? The people in shops in Derby and Broome or whatever else will just want to talk.
Country towns especially.
Country towns, fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah, this is one of the things I love about living in the hills. You know, with Kalamunda up the road, you go into Kalamunda and every shopkeeper has a conversation with you. Every bank teller, every supermarket.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's friendly. And I noticed the very first day I was here, I went in the post office and made it known that I was new to the area. And they're like, oh, well, make sure you go here and do this and do that. And, you know, they were introducing me to the whole community. And if you asked for something and they haven't got it, they won't just go, no, we haven't got that, like they do in the city. They go, oh, but if you go to so-and-so and make sure you go here and tell them I sent you. And it was like going out of their way to be helpful as well.
Yeah, for
Funny
sure.
little quirk though that I noticed when I was living in the city in the apartment and on the edge of Northbridge. I used to go for morning walks quite often around Hyde Park or Lake Mungo. And I noticed that first thing in the morning, if you're out walking or jogging at, say, I don't know, 7:30 in the morning, everyone says hello to you. Everyone going past goes, morning, 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 morning.
Monty
Go
Python's
to that same park at lunchtime, nobody says a word.
Nah.
It's a really bizarre phenomenon. So I don't know if it's just that people are so bright and breezy because they're up early and they're in exercise mode, and so they're feeling good.
Yeah.
The people in the daytime are just so I'm trying to cheer myself.
I think it's the latter. I think it's the people that go there walking at lunchtime are doing it for a break from something.
Yeah, probably.
Where the people that are there first thing in the morning are there because they want to be there.
Yeah.
And they're probably there. I don't know what came first, chicken or egg. You know, are they there because everyone else says hello, or are they there because, you know, they're out there and moving and getting going for the day, and they've still got that sort of eagerness in their step.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's definitely when you think I'm going to meet nice people, so I am being a nicer person by saying nice things to people, by being complimentary, by being friendly, by being helpful where I can. You know, I was in the supermarket at Aldi the other day and I saw a little old lady, and I was sort of just glanced back to see, I was looking for something on the, and I saw her kind of struggling to get to something on the top shelf. So I immediately walked across and said, oh, can I help you with that? And she's like, oh, thank you so much. That's really helpful of you, you know. And it's just one of those things that you just do, or I do. But there are other people who would look at the little old lady and go, not my problem.
Get a shop assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny, but you do, so in your daily activities, if you can, and I know you guys both do this, and you are both nice people. So, and pretty much all the people that come on the calls on Noble Goldman are nice people. And that's why they're on the calls. We're, you know, they say birds of a feather flock together.
Indeedy.
So, yes. All right. Well, that's about time, gentlemen. Unless anyone has any last thoughts. Stan, have you thought of anything that you wanted to add in that
Not really. Oh, well, you were talking about that. I always find that if you're smiling, then the other person smiles. And I always remember them reading that one where they did that experiment where someone would walk along and smile or not smile, and you'd try and figure out. And me and friends actually did that, and it was lots of fun. Just wandering around the supermarket and shops and stuff, just smiling to see if you get a reaction.
What kind of
stuff?
People watching the security footage, you go, he's up and down that aisle again. He made his day as well.
What?
There was that spate of crimes and robberies and attacks, assaults in America where people were dressing up as clowns, and that everyone you're starting to develop a morbid fear of clowns.
Yeah. Yeah.
But did you see the one that happened? They picked the wrong person to play that practical joke on. Like they pulled up against like an MMA fighter who dropped the crap out of him, and that made my day.
No more clowning for you, matey.
That's right. Oh, you picked the wrong person.
Picked the wrong one.
Well, we'll leave you to go change into your costume then, Stan, and
get your big shoes on.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope everyone's got something out of that, and hope you go and have an awesome day.
We shall. Thank you very much. Cheers, Stan. Cheers, Tony. I've got to shoot.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.